Charlotte Bronte was born in Yorkshire, Northern England in 1816 to Reverend Patrick Bronte and his wife Maria. Charlotte was the middle child of the pair. She had two older sisters, Maria and Elizabeth, two younger sisters, Emily and Anne, and one younger brother, Branwell. At age 5, Charlotte's mother, Maria, died of cancer. Maria's sister, Elizabeth Branwell, was brought in to care for and nurture the 7 children, but was characterized by several contrasting qualities, gloomy and rigid while also being lively and intelligent. At age 8, Charlotte began her formal education along with her 3 oldest sisters by attending the clergy daughter school at Cowan Bridge. Charlotte did not excel at school. She found life at boarding school to be harsh and horrendous. Due to unsanitary living conditions, her 2 eldest sisters, Maria and Elizabeth, died of tuberculosis, resulting in Reverend Bronte's immediate withdrawal of Charlotte and Emily from the school. One day, Reverend Bronte brought home a box of toy soldiers. These wooden dolls became the focus of the Bronte children's imagination for years to come. Charlotte created the Duke of Wellington and produced extensive storylines and narratives focused on the lives and actions of the Duke and his 2 sons, Charles and Arthur Wellesley. By writing about colonialism and egotism, Charlotte shows her awareness of the Victorian literature culture and the current world conditions even at a young age. In 1831, at age 15, Charlotte enrolled as a student at Roe Head School. By recognizing education as a necessary investment in the future, Charlotte grew to the top of her class. When Charlotte returned home from school in May 1832, she wrote thousands of lines of poetry. But in 1835, Charlotte received a teaching position at Roe Head School, forcing her out of her land of intrigue and fantasy and into reality. The few pieces of prose and poetry she did write focused on Charlotte's desire to return home, as she hated the bondage of teaching. In 1836, Charlotte returned to poetry and even dreamed to write professionally, in a now infamous response to Charlotte's request for advice. A then famous poet, Robert Southey, states, "Literature cannot be a business of a woman's life, and it ought not to be. The more she is engaged in her proper duties, the less leisure she will have for it, even as an accomplishment and a recreation. To those duties you have not yet been called, and when you are, you will be less eager for celebrity." Charlotte did not yield to the slap in the face. She prospered in it. In the months following the letter, Charlotte produced thousands of lines of poetry. She used the letter as inspiration to overcome the patriarchy and the conditions of the world. She finally left Roe Head School in December 1838. With ambitious dreams to open their own school, Charlotte and Emily departed for the European continent in February 1842. They enrolled at a school in Brussels, Belgium, where Charlotte fell in love with Constantin Heger, owner and literature teacher who encouraged and supported Charlotte's talent. Unrequited affections forced her to return to England in 1844 with a bruised pride. Without any interest from the public, the Bronte Sister School was never founded. Full of embarrassment and anxiousness for her future, Charlotte was overcome with depression until she came across a book of Emily's poetry unlike other poetry written by a woman. Charlotte urged her sisters, Emily and Anne, to all publish a book together. Charlotte pushed the book to print in 1846 under the title Poems by Currier, Ellis, and Acton Bell. Due to the contemporary societal pressures against female authors, they published their book of poetry under the pseudonyms of Currier, who was Charlotte, Ellis, who was Emily, and Acton, who was Anne. Charlotte then transitioned her attention to her first novel, The Professor. Although it was never published, it secured a deal for her next novel, Jane Eyre. Modeled after her own life, Jane Eyre focused on the life and growth of the title character Jane. The novel directly parallels to Charlotte's experiences in life. Clergyman characters, an aunt with questionable intentions, terrible and deadly conditions of a boarding school, and love quickly shift away from the girl. Jane Eyre was Charlotte's greatest success as an author. She wrote 3 unfinished poems after the deaths of her 3 remaining siblings and continued to publish novels, her final being Villette in 1853. At the age of 38, Charlotte married Arthur Bell Nichols and was very happy. 1 year later, on March 31st, 1855, Charlotte died from a complication due to pregnancy. Buried alongside her family in the Church of St. Michael and all the Angels, she was unable to have the long, successful life she always dreamed of living.